Let's talk about using graphics or titles inside of the TriCaster. The TriCaster has several ways of creating titles. Let's take a look at a few of them. Our overlay section in the interface is right over here, and the overlay section allows us to choose 4 different sources to use as overlays over our video. We can use our text tab, we can use either of our DDRs, or we can use an external source such as NewTek's live text software, which can be run externally. We'll talk about that in a little bit. Let's start out with the text tab. We'll come down here and we'll click on the text tab in the interface, and the text tab is a template-based CG. So I can use this pop-up list right here, and we'll go ahead and open this list. Now we can mouse over the pre-made title templates inside of this list, and we get a small thumbnail preview of what each one of these titles is going to look like. We have a large variety of them. I'm using the scroller wheel on my mouse here to move down through the list. And they're segmented into categories: holiday, film, event, education, commercial, full-page billboards, things along those lines. And then, of course, lower thirds as we get down here into the list, and a variety of other types of titles and CGs. I'm going to go ahead and load up a lower third. And as soon as I click on one of the templates, it shows up in my template list right down here. Now, I'm going to go ahead and load up a few different types just so that we have some variety to work with. And I'm going to come over here, and we have some vignette style graphics, some graphics where video can show through, takes up a little bit more of the screen. We have some sidebar type vignettes. We also have, of course, full page graphics as well. Now, once I get my graphics or my templates loaded into the template list here that I want to use, I can begin to modify them. I click on the template, and it shows up in my text preview window over here. Anything that I mouse over in this window that highlights is editable. So I simply mouse over the text and I left click. Now I type and I hit enter to go ahead and make that change. Again, I can click on the subheading. And in this particular lower third, the graphic also highlights when I mouse over it. And this means that I can change the graphic as well. Simply click on the graphic and I can load any graphic to replace it. You do need to know that it is going to stretch or squash your graphic into the aspect ratio of the original graphic. So if you want to maintain the look without stretching or squashing your video or your image that you're adding to this template, you want to crop it ahead of time to match the aspect ratio of what you're replacing. I'll go ahead and select an image, and this text is now ready to go. Now, we can get through all of the templates that we currently have loaded in our list down here by using these arrow keys. I can also double click on any of the title templates in my list here, and they will become the main active title. You know that it's the active title when it shows up in the overlay preview window right here. So once I get my title in place, and this is the one that I want to use, I'm ready to go ahead and either fade it up or take it up. Now, don't confuse this take button with this take button. The take and the auto button over here are for executing transitions between video sources, and the fade and the take button over here are for fading or cutting our overlays on and off over the top of our video. Go ahead and click the fade button and we'll fade up our overlay. Now, one very important thing to notice is I did not have to leave the live production environment in order to create this graphic. I was able to, while I was live on camera, change the text, set it up, and execute it as an overlay without having to stop the live production. This is very important. This means I can make titles on the fly, and these are live editable title templates. So if someone showed up at your production and you didn't have a title made for them and they were walking to the stage, you can literally have a title made for them by the time they get to the stage. Now, as I said, there are a wide variety of styles here. We have vignette style graphics, and we have full page graphics, and a wide variety. But we're never going to be able to give everybody exactly what they want in a selection of templates. Maybe we work for a television station and we're mandated to use a specific graphics package. We can import imagery into the templates, if we pop our list open and we go all the way to the top of the list, we have a selection called Add Image. And this selection will allow me to add any image, and if that image has an alpha channel or a transparency, say it's a ping or say it's a Targa 32, then the TriCaster can take advantage of that alpha channel and it can be used as an overlay. The only caveat here is it will not be a title template. It's not a live editable title template. It's simply an image that we've imported from another package. Now you can take your graphics and create your own title templates or create title templates from scratch by using our Edit Text tab. The Edit Text tab launches a full-blown CG. Now, you do have to do this either in pre or post because this does exit out of our live production environment. When we're working in the TriCaster, we have our 4 main tabs up here, and live production is the tab we're in now. If I exit out to Edit Media or Edit Text, you'll see that my interface output will go blank and will then represent what we're working on in either of those applications. Let's go into Edit Text. Edit Text brings us to a full-blown character generator built into the TriCaster. This will allow us to import graphics from other packages and create our title templates. We can also create title templates from scratch. We can also create motion titles. We can do scrolls and crawls inside of our Edit Text tab. And the Edit Text tab also comes with a wide variety of pre-made templates. So we can simply pop open the list of pre-made templates. Again, we'll get a little thumbnail of each one as we mouse over it. And these are great to use as a jumping off point to create your own graphics. Now, I'm going to go ahead and select a template to modify. And we're going to go ahead and select a lower third style template. So let's come down here to our lower thirds. And again, I can simply click on a lower third and it shows up. And from within the title template, I have the ability to not only change the text like I can in the live editable title templates, but now I can modify size, I can modify font, shape, color, a lot of things that I can't do in the live production environment. So I can simply select my selection tool and select any element of this graphic, and I now have complete control over the element for changing size, for changing style, and anything else I might want to do. Again, we have a tab-based interface down here at the bottom, and this allows us to go through our viewing options, our text and drawing tools and options, our color selection for creating either solid colors or gradients. We have a variety of predetermined font styles, and again, if I select an element of text, I can now just click on any of these predetermined font styles to change the look of that text to match my predetermined text. We also have a file bin, and from this file bin I can access any drive attached to the computer, or I can also again hook up external drives such as a USB or a FireWire drive or a thumb drive and access those, and I can import graphics from any other package to use inside of the CG. Now the CG, as far as importing graphics, is only going to import still graphics, and we can't use video clips inside of the CG. The only motion that we have inside of our CG is for scrolls or crawls. Now we also have a full layering system here, so as we create graphics we can create and move the layers to the foreground and the background and create some very detailed graphics. We also have the ability to group and ungroup these graphics. So once we create a scenario and we're happy with it, I could go ahead and select all of the graphics, I can group them, and now I can move this entire thing as a group, and at any point if I want to make changes to it I can simply ungroup them and I have all of the individual pieces available for editing once again. Let's go ahead and we're going to use this graphic as it sits right now, and let's go ahead and take this graphic, we'll group it again and move it back down here. And we're also going to make a scroll. I'm going to come up here to this blank page, and to make a scroll I'm going to use my text tool and come down here. Now it looks like the text is real big right now, so again I can go to text and drawing, and I've got my font width and height, but I have them locked using the locked aspect ratio button. So I can go ahead and I can size that down, and I get a preview over here of what the text is going to look like. And I want to have an edge on the text, so I'm going to turn my edge on. You have several types of edges, bevel, squares, or round. I'm just going to go with a round edge. We also have shadow. I'm also going to turn shadow on. We can do 3 types of shadows, a cast, a drop, or a soft. I'm going to do a cast shadow, and the little color swatch next to it is the color of the shadow. And right now the default color is almost completely transparent. So I'm going to click on that color swatch. And now I can determine the color of the shadow. I'm simply going to take the alpha channel, the A control here is my alpha channel, and I'm going to turn it all the way up. And then I'm going to click on this color swatch. And let's go ahead and bring this down and then drag my little control area down here because I want to have a black drop shadow. Now 255 is completely opaque. Let's go down to about maybe 190. Give it a little bit of transparency, but it's still going to show up nicely in our graphic. I'm now ready to start typing my crawl along the bottom of the screen. Again, when you work with a CG, we have 2 boundaries here. The inner boundary is our safe area for our text, and the outer boundary is our safe area for our videos. So whenever we're creating titles, we want to make sure that we're inside of our title safe area. Now I'm ready to type out my text. This is a crawl created with the NewTek TriCaster using the edit text application. Now, right below down here, I can select the motion type, no motion, or which way it's going to be traveling. I want this to travel from right to left. Now, I can come over to my playback controls and hit play, and it will give me a preview of what this is going to look like, and I can see right off the bat that it's very, very slow. So I'm going to go ahead and stop that. And right here, I have a slider for motion speed. So I'm going to bring that up to about 3.5 and then try to play it back again. And that's a little bit more what I was looking for. Again, I can go back and tweak it and get exactly the speed that I'm looking for. Once I'm happy with the speed, I can choose an end behavior. And the end behavior is it going to loop over and over again? Is it going to stop after it passes by the screen one time? Or is it going to go back to its default position and start over again, but not start, just be in the start position? Or is it going to loop the last frame? I'm going to go ahead and set it for over, so it just crawls across the screen and ends, and that's now ready. Now again, I can come up here to my selection tool, select the text, and pick a style for it. Come back to my text and drawing, make sure that I still have my shadow turned on. You'll notice that my outline is turned to a red outline. And outlines have 2 colors as well. It has an inner color and an outer color. So I'm just going to go ahead with the defaults from the preset and let it go with the look that we have right there. That looks pretty good. So now I have 2 pages in my current CG project. I have the crawl up here at the top. I have my lower third graphic here. Let's say I want to do a scroll. If I just click down here in an unused area, it creates a new page for me. And now I want to do a scroll, so again, I take my text tool and I can type out my credit roll. So producer is Carlo, talent is Don, and so forth. Now, I'm going to go to my selection tool and left click and drag over all of these. And using my alignment tools, I can now center them all up exactly where I want them to be. And again, I want this to come from the bottom to the top, so I'm going to choose my direction, I'm going to choose my speed, and I'm going to test it out and see what it looks like. And that looks pretty good for what I was looking for. Again, if I want to change the style, I can simply go to Style and pick a different style for it if we want to. I'm going to use the same style we used over on our crawl. Now I can make as many pages in here as I want, and once I get all my pages set up, I can of course save the project so that the project can be reloaded later for modification. I can of course load a project that has been saved, and I can save the project as a different project with save as, and of course start a completely new project. Now the next two buttons are very important. We have the ability to export a page out to the live production environment or export the project out to the live production environment. And if I'm going to export a page, it's whatever page is currently selected. It's going to be the one that's exported. Now I want to go ahead and export the entire project. So I'm going to say export project for live, and it's going to say there's a project that already exists. Do you want to replace it? Which means we would get rid of what's currently out there that was exported from the edit text application. Or we can leave what's out there and append that with the new pages coming from this project. So I'm going to go ahead and append. And the scrolls and crawls need to be rendered. So these will actually be rendered out as pieces of video. And then whatever still graphics we have in here are going to be instantly exported as live editable title templates. Let's go back into our live production environment. When I'm going to exit, it asks me if I want to save the project that I'm working on. And again, if you haven't saved it using the Save button up here, you can click Save here, and then this project will reload the next time you enter the Edit Text tab. We're going to go all the way up to the top, and we have our text page, and we can see the CGs that we created here. And I simply click on one, it shows up in my list. It's now an editable title template. Now there's another thing that it does when we export out to live. I'm going to go ahead and remove this. And here's another bug that I made in the CG. So again, bring this up using the text tab as my input, and we can fade that up and we can see that we've got a little graphic up there over my head. Now one thing that I can do is I can use this as a live set. When we export from edit text, it also exports live sets. So we're going to go to the Input Setup tab, and we're going to go ahead to the Scene pop-up and choose Edit Text Desktop. We're then going to choose that same graphic, and now with live set turned on, it pops in over my head. Now the interesting thing about it is now completely independent of any other graphic that I have in the system that I can use over here as my overlay. So we can now fade this up independently from the other graphic. This means I could use this as a way of creating a bug that would stay down in the lower corner or wherever I positioned it as a live set. This means we can use what we generated as our live set as a permanent bug. It's always going to be on that input all the time. It means I can't use a virtual set, but again, just trying to show you the flexibility and usability of the system in all of its different possible configurations. So we could use that live set as our bug, and we can still use our text overlay or our overlay area to independently fade graphics up and down, not affecting that permanent bug because it's on there as a live set. Now we can use other sources besides the live editable title templates inside of our overlay area. We can also use either one of our DDRs or an external source. We'll talk about that in just a moment. Let's look at the DDRs. The DDRs allow us to use motion overlays. So if you happen to use other products and you want to create motion overlays in other applications, not a problem. You will be able to import them and use them inside of the DDR as a motion graphic with transparency and use them in the overlay area. I'm going to go to DDR number 2, and I'm going to add a clip that's got some alpha channel in it. I'm going to go ahead and set it up as the clip that I want to use. Let's bring up DDR number 2 as our source. Now I'm going to go ahead and make sure that I have selection turned on. I have the clip selected. I have loop turned on, so it just loops. It doesn't stop after it's done playing. And I can even use Q mode here. We're going to turn Q mode on. And because I have DDR number 2 selected up here in the overlay, when I hit the take button, Q mode is going to activate and play that DDR. So either take or fade. We'll just go ahead and hit fade. Now, because we had Q turned on in the DDR, it automatically rolled the tape for us, or rolled the DDR for us, started our graphic playing, gives us a full motion graphic overlaid over the top of our video. Again, this can be any full motion graphic. It could be created inside of the TriCaster, either in the editor inside of the TriCaster, or again, the scrolls and crawls that we created earlier can also be used this way. Go down to the DDR and click on Add, and when I saved out the project from Edit Text, it went into my CG folder. I've got a shortcut to CGs right here. If I click on it, they show up, and here are the CGs that we saved out. So here's my scroll, here's my crawl. I'm going to select both of those, click on Open to bring them in. I now have them in here as well. And again, I click on it, I'm in Select and Loop. We have Q turned on, DDR is selected as my source. I simply hit Fade, and we now have our scroll and our crawl available to us as well. We can also use the external input. Again, we've got the external input. This is how we brought in our computer, if you remember, over here. And the external input is used when we're using an external software application called Live Text. Live Text is basically the Edit Text tab broken out into a standalone piece of software which runs on an external computer. Again, once connected to the same network as the TriCaster, the output of Live Text can be brought in as an overlay source used in the overlay section of the TriCaster, and this can be done during a live presentation. So you could have someone running the titles and the CG externally outside of the TriCaster, and again the TriCaster operator has the ability to bring those graphics in like any other input into the TriCaster. We're going to do a separate video on Live Text, so for more information on that product, please make sure you watch that video.